Okay, well, welcome guys to the fourth installment of the League of Titans broadcast. It's going to be a healthy discussion around the AFC North and South divisions, our team projections and thoughts, and we've assembled a great cohort of experts for today's discussions. Let's get into the introductions. We've got the big man from Carolina, David. How you doing, David?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Good to be back. Glad to be part of the panel this evening. Take some of the hosting stuff off of me. That way I can talk some football with you cats. Thanks for having me.
No promise, man. And, of course, the big man from Dallas. Tony, how you doing, buddy?
Not from Dallas.
From Austin. Thanks for the correction.
Very public. But doing good, man. Happy to be here.
Cool, man. And, of course, we'll say hello to our muscle-bound freak in Canada. Hey, Colby, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad to be back. We always have a lot of fun. I appreciate the invite.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming along. All right, guys, just to let you know, I've got a bit of a schedule plan. So I've got a live read because we've actually got a legitimate sponsor for this broadcast. So we'll do that, and we'll start digging into the teams. And at the end, I've got a couple of housekeeping notes. Are you guys cool with that?
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right. So I've got in my hot little hands an actual live read. The only thing I'd request is it's part public service announcement. So if possible, could we just keep the airwaves clear of comment and laughter? All right, here we go. So this segment is brought to you by the D Train. You can reach them at www.dicktrain.com. Hey fellas, have you ever reached into your pants, felt your nads, and have been shocked by the fact that one testicle is smaller than the other? Or do they hang oddly? Do they retract too much? Well, never fear, the Dick Train is here to help. Here is a message by the CEO and founder.
Hi, my name is David, and I've been obsessed with testicles for over 20 years. Nothing brings me more joy than handling testicles. In fact, I've made it my life's work to make sure your balls get my undivided attention. I want to handle as many balls as possible. So if you have any issues with your nether regions, please visit us at www.dicktrain.com. For those wanting to spice up the bedroom, we also started a new line of products to attend to anal relaxation. The products range from medicaments, lubricants, and devices. I don't sell any product I have not used extensively. If you want your caboose to be loose, visit us at www.dicktrain.com. The views and opinions of League of Titans may not approve of this ad.
Bravo.
Colby, what's your reaction to that, mate?
I just could not stop laughing. I tried so hard.
That was well put together.
No problem. Tony, do you think you'll be visiting www.dicktrain.com? Have your balls examined by David?
I don't know what Anthony's talking about. He's our biggest fucking client.
Look, what I did want to say is thanks to Dave for being such a good sport. I floated the idea earlier on in the week, and he was really good about it. So we thought it'd be a great way to sort of start the broadcast, have a bit of a laugh, and set the tone for the rest of the discussion today. Thanks again, David, for that. That was great.
My pleasure.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to be doing AFC North and South. We're starting with the North, the black and blue division. And it seems like it's a really good division because it shows four teams, each in different stages of development. You've got the Steelers that are obviously sort of contending, and it ranges all the way down to the Browns, which are, shall we say, quite out of the mix and in the developmental stage of their team. So I think it'll be quite an interesting discussion today. We've got Tony covering the Ravens first. Let's hear what Tony has to say about the Ravens team's projections.
All right. Well, last year they were 14th in offense, 8th in defense, 8th in passing, and 26th at running the ball. I was a little surprised by those numbers, to be honest with you. Flacco went down with the ACL last year. They had Steve Smith get hurt. I was surprised they were 8th in passing. But as I looked at their schedule, I mean, it was really hard to find wins for them. I think I got them marked down at 4-12. I just think they lack playmakers. Steve Smith going on 37. They got Perryman, who's yet to see the field, their first rounder from last year. The running back situation is kind of crazy. They got Justin Forsett. They got Kenny Dixon, and West, I guess, is having a great training camp.
Fuck Allen.
Tight end. They got all those tight ends over there. They brought in Watson. Really don't know what to make of their offense or their defense, to be honest with you. I think it's a 4-12 year.
Cool. What do you think, Colby? Does that sort of gel with your perception of the team and their direction?
Well, this is weird for me because normally me and Tony are like this when we're doing our predictions. I guess I must be a little bullish on them. I have them going 8-8. I like the addition of Eric Weddle. I think that's a sneaky good addition. And I also like they got a lineman in Ronnie Stanley in the draft that I like. And I just think that what Tony said is certainly could absolutely happen. But I think if they do get Steve Smith back and Flacco does stay healthy, and a guy like Terrence West keeps doing what he's doing, I think 8-8 is pretty realistic, but I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not hard against what Tony's saying in any way.
Yeah, and it's not crazy to think since their division, I mean, the Bengals aren't going to run away from anybody, and we all think the Steelers are probably going to win that division, but I'll get into those teams later when y'all talk about them. But I mean, it's not a great division by any means.
No, thanks, Tony. Thanks, Tony, for that. That was great. That was quite comprehensive. How about we move over to the D train? Who's going to be covering the Bengals?
All right, guys. So 2015 Bengals took the crown in the AFC North, even with quarterback Andy Dalton missing 3 games. They went 12-4 on the season. But they ended up losing a brutal game to Pittsburgh in the playoffs, 18-16. The Bengals have made the playoffs in 5 straight seasons. That's 6 of the last 7. The bad news is they've lost every fucking wild card round every single year. Holding off the Steelers this year won't be an easy task, but this is a team coming off their best regular season since '88. Their defense allowed the second fewest points in 2015 at 17.4. Teams are going to have trouble, in my opinion, scoring on Cincinnati, and that offense will keep on rolling, led by Dalton, A.J. Green, Tyler Eifert, and 2 intriguing running backs in Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard. They are showing LaFell as the opposite end wideout, and he'll probably see some catches to throw off the defenses that are keying in on Green. The fantasy value, I think, for LaFell is going to go up probably a couple of ticks. Coach Marvin Lewis is looking at another great season, barring any injuries to the key players that I had mentioned. I see them going 11-5 just because of their schedule with the Steelers twice, and I think they lose to the Skins in their October 30th game in London. That's the way I see it.
Well, fair enough. You didn't seem particularly enthusiastic about that today. Bengals they don't move the needle for you, mate.
Well, I mean, I like I said, I see them dropping a game just because of that game in London. I think it's going to kind of throw them off. I think that, I think Josh Norman's going to, revel in the defensive strategy over there. That's just the way I see it. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Bengals are a decent team. I like Dalton. I like A.J. Green, and especially LaFell, former Carolina Panther, former Patriot, whatever. But, hopefully he'll see some more PT, and they should do pretty decently.
Cool. All right, let's move over to Tony. What are your reactions to the coverage on that team, Tony?
My reaction is Jared Goff just threw an interception.
Okay.
No, I was just checking out the Bengals schedule. I see either 9-7, 10-6, somewhere in there.
There it is. This is me and Tony.
Yeah, somewhere in there. They got two really good running backs. Andy Dalton is what he is. AJ Green is a beast, but I don't know about Brandon LaFell. I mean, he had Tom Brady throwing him the ball last year, and he still couldn't catch it. So I don't know what.
He was injured last year.
I don't see how his value goes up with Dalton throwing it to him. But they do got a good defense, and they'll be right there for a wild card, I think. Somewhere in there.
Oh,
that's fair. All right, and Colby now has the great privilege of covering the Browns with his team projections.
Okay.
Let's see some enthusiasm, Colby.
Okay, I'm super excited. I actually just wanted to kind of hook on the end of that Bengals thing. I actually think something that's really good for the Browns and is going to be a negative for the Bengals is Hugh Jackson. I think he actually is. He's legit, man. He can really help quarterbacks. And just one more thing, I know I keep saying this, but just one more thing about the Bengals. Did you guys know that statistically Hill and Gio Bernard are the most productive backfield duo in the NFL? When I was doing my research, that kind of blew me away. But anyways, on to the Browns. I'm not super excited about them. I don't think anybody is. I do think they're a team that's going in the right direction. I think they buy one, maybe two more wins. I have them. They were 3-13 last year. I have them at 4-12. So I mean, obviously, I'm not super excited. They lost they lost so many good players. I mean, you can't overlook losing a guy like Alex Mack. They lost Mitchell Schwartz too on the line. I am excited about Corey Coleman. An interesting stat I found was that when Corey Coleman was playing, Baylor QBs had a 133.1 passer rating when they targeted him. So I would think that has to generate some exciting plays. Duke Johnson is a stud, at least catching the ball. I think he's got to be right up there with one of the top pass-catching backs in the league. Crowell is all right, serviceable on early downs for sure. I want to make this clear. Do not believe the hype. Terrell Pryor, it was the preseason. Let's not get too excited, all right?
Straight?
RG3, I hope that we will see some more of those splash plays, like what he did against the Packers. I think that he has the ability to make those kind of plays. The big thing, and I'm tying this back into Hugh Jackson, the big thing is that Hugh Jackson is doing exactly what he should be doing, and that's making the Browns offense very much like the Baylor offense, which is basically, you step back and you have quick reads. You either pass to this guy or that guy. That's it. It's very simple. Boom, right? So I don't see him returning to his Rookie of the Year status, but I mean, obviously at 4-12, they're not going to be there. But I can't. This is a team that's heading in the right direction. It would be the most positive thing I could say about them.
That's fair. They've also got a huge number of draft picks for next year. David, do you have any other value add to that?
I'm kind of on not the opposite end of Colby, but I've got them. What did you say you had at Colby?
Yeah, 4-12.
Yeah, I've got them winning a couple more. I've got them winning 6 just because of RG3. I think that I honestly think the RG3 is going to definitely bring an impact to them. I think the past couple of years, you kind of fell off whatever everybody's talking shit or whatnot. That's fine. But they've got a decent right tackle in Spencer Drango out of Baylor that I was watching earlier this year, and I think he's going to give them the protection that they need, open up a hole for Isaiah Crowell. Like I said, I got them winning a couple, but they're nothing to write home about this year, I don't think. And I'm digging Corey Coleman. I hope he does some great things for him, and I think that Terrell Pryor is going to help him out as well.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Quick question, guys. What's the over/under on RG3 surviving more than 6 games?
I'll take the over on that.
I'll take the over.
I think he'll. I think he'll go a majority of the season if he can. If like I said, they've got Spencer Drango and John Greco, Cameron Irving, Joel Batonio, and Joe Thomas. I mean, I think they'll give him the protection that he needs, and along with Barnridge. I mean, he's not a great catcher, but he can fucking block.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna surprise you guys.
The barnyard dog will make some plays this year. Wait and see.
Yeah, I think they're 4-12. I think RG3 takes the over on more than 6 games, or I say he plays at least 3/4 of the season. I don't know. As for Corey Coleman, they're like building Baylor North up there. The RG3, Coleman, Josh Gordon, the right tackle, and they're all from Baylor. Like you said, Hugh Jackson is gonna make it work for those guys because that's the system they're used to, and he's a smart guy, and he'll know how to make them guys successful. I mean, as successful as they can be, because it's still going to be a rough year. 4-12 ain't nothing special.
No, it's not.
But they, like you said, they do get a lot of draft picks coming up, and they're sure that if the owner Jimmy Haslam, actually sticks with Hugh Jackson for 4 or 5 years, they'll be on the come up.
I still say 6-10.
Yeah. Tomato, tomato.
All right, guys.
Let's fight.
Yeah, no, the only thing I was going to say is the issue with RG3 is never really. I mean, it is in part the protection he gets from the O-line, but it's more his decision making. He's normally the instigator of a lot of his own injuries. He just things like refusing to slide or not knowing how to slide. Like I can just envisage him almost retracting back to muscle memory and doing something completely stupid on a run. I hope it doesn't happen, obviously, but I wouldn't be shocked. And the other thing is, I don't know, I'm just not really that high on RG3. I just don't think he's got it. He's got what it takes between the ears to really get it done. And I know that in part the issue over at Washington wasn't entirely his fault. A lot of it was administration and coaching and a lot of the political sort of lobbying behind the scenes. But I don't think he really helped his cause. And I don't know. I just kind of think at some points he seemed like a real petulant child, and some of the comments he made in relation to the second stringers like Kirk Cousins weren't particularly flattering, and they weren't particularly mature for a guy his age, and I guess a guy who would be assuming a leadership position in the team.
Can I interject something?
Yeah, man, hang on. Go for it, dude.
I mean, how the hell did he get to become an NFL player to begin with? I mean, it wasn't because he was fucking stupid. I mean, look at his college years and look at his first couple of years that he played. I mean, nobody can say that he didn't produce. I mean, yeah, somewhere down the line when, like you were saying, when he hit Washington, yeah, the administrative issues, the lack of blocking, I mean, that'll truly fuck with you when you're trying to, do your job. I'm just saying that, because of I think that the administration coupled with the protection that he's going to get there is going to bring him back to to the way that he was. And I mean to say that he doesn't have it between the ears is kind of rhetorical. I mean, because how the hell did he get there to begin with? I mean, he was a superstar when he first come out of college, and his first couple of years, that's all everybody talked about. Commercials, everything else. And it wasn't because he was stupid, it was because he did his fucking job and he he knew what he was doing. But again, I mean, we all fall off. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when you're at work or when you're doing your job and, somebody's fucking with you, or when you've got upper management messing with you, you got people that aren't, your team's not there for you and not doing their fucking jobs. I mean, yeah, I'm going to get rattled as well. I mean, I'm not trying to ride RG3's dick or anything. I'm just saying, I think that, look, I'm just saying that he's, I honestly think that he's in a better situation now, and I think we're going to see the RG3 of old either this year or next year. One of these 2 years, we're going to see him back in the way that he was.
I think RG3 has been to dicktrain.com.
What was that, man? I missed that.
He's done with the Subway commercials. He's now doing train commercials.
No, I said I think RG3's been to dicktrain.com.
Oh, I got you now. Fair enough.
But
Asshole.
if you remember right, RG3 was a Heisman Trophy winner coming into the NFL, and most Heisman Trophy winners come into the NFL with thinking they're the shit already. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's why most of them don't succeed in the NFL. I feel like they already come into training camp with a big head, and then they get knocked back to earth, and they don't know how to respond to it. So it's up to Griffin to respond back to it. I mean, he's been humbled over the last couple of years, and to see if he's learned anything.
That's what I say, and I definitely don't disagree with you there. I mean, and it's easy to get caught up in the hype, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you go from anyway. Sorry, we've lingered this too long. Sorry about that, Anthony.
Nah, not at all, man. Colby, you have any comments on RG3? I thought it was a good discussion.
Well, I think that lots of the points Dave makes are really good. I think that the examples of guys that have made it to the NFL and are complete idiots and totally fuck up the opportunity are in spades. Although I do lean towards thinking a guy like RG3. I think if you're Rookie of the Year, I think you do have some skills, but I guess we'll find out. I'm curious, just like all of us, to see, right?
I mean, the only thing I will say, and it occurred to me, I just didn't want to interrupt David. Just want to obviously just extend him the courtesy of sort of uninterrupted time. Was that I understand everyone's we're really hyped about his rookie season, but you need to understand, and I'm sure you guys would all agree, that basically the offense was tailored around him and around his skills as a rookie. The following couple of years, when they attempted to basically develop into a professional pocket passer, he just simply couldn't do it. He's quite happy to handle a spread offense where he simply does one or two quick reads and passes the ball or runs, but ask him to do more complex functions, to actually digest reads, identify players that are open, throw to an open, lead a player open. I don't think he's capable of any of those things. But
and I think a big thing was when he got hurt there, he was no longer the fastest guy on the field, and his game really relied on, hey, I'm faster than everybody here, and that was done after he got hurt. Sorry to interrupt you, Anthony.
No, man, not at all. Look, I think it was really good. No, I'm not saying I'm not saying he's done as a prospect. I don't know. Maybe I view the quarterback position really differently, and that's obviously quite evidenced by the fact that we have a lot of Facebook comments in relation to our quarterback assessments.
Matt Ryan.
Oh fuck no! Fuck no! Why did you do that, Colby? Son of a bitch!
We're not going to go there. But I guess I just sort of, maybe it's just a bias, and from my perspective, I tend to like the more cerebral quarterbacks. I do think obviously there's room and space in the league for quarterbacks that maybe aren't the Tom Brady's and the Peyton Mannings of the world, but are athletically gifted and maybe have a high football IQ. And I'm more than happy to concede I'm wrong at the end of the season when RG3 takes the Browns to a 10-6 season.
Well, you will be conceded. You will. Well, I didn't say. I didn't say 10-6. I said 6-10.
Just so everyone knows, Colby, or me, and Anthony's vanity project, Matt Ryan Football Talk, will be coming up soon.
That podcast is coming out shortly.
Dear God in heaven.
All right, guys, I better transition over to the Steelers. Look, I've been tasked myself with the job of looking after the Steelers, and I'm not as adept at looking at teams as well as you guys, but my approach is slightly different to yours. Obviously, I've said this before, I don't have the history or a lot of the knowledge that you guys have, so I tend to sort of base a lot of my assessments on numbers, because I guess that might be just the way my brain works. And I look from the top down first. So I looked at the coaching, and obviously you guys would know Mike Tomlin's their head coach, has been since 2007. Their OC is Todd Haley. He's been there since 2012. Their defensive coordinator is a guy called Keith Butler, who replaced Dick LeBeau, and he's been there since 2015. And I guess the overarching point is that the team looks relatively settled. They're not constantly churning through coaches, which is a good sign for the team and the administration. So all the people at those apex or decision-making positions are relatively stable. It provides the team with sort of clear indication of direction and stability and the focus. So I think that's a winning combination. When I have a look at their 2016 additions, particularly in the draft, the first thing I notice is they've sunk a lot of draft capital in positions like cornerback, defensive tackle, and linebacker. So I guess extrapolating from that, it would tell me that the Steelers view their defense as a unit in need of improvement. And I guess, you know, when we think of the Steelers historically, we think of them as a really tough defensive team, but that's obviously not really been reflective in the last couple of years. And I look over their defensive sort of unit as it currently stands. They've got a young buck in Ryan Shazier, who I think was drafted in 2013. I can't quite recall now. They've got guys like Stephon Tuitt, James Harrison, and Lawrence Timmons. So obviously, they're the only names that really stuck out to me. So it would seem to me that the Steelers are more currently known as an offensive or fantasy-rich team rather than a big smack-in-your-face defensive unit. That's just my interpretation. I'll be more than happy to hear yours. When I look at their schedule, obviously they play the divisional rivals, but they also play AFC East and NFC East teams, and that obviously has a lot of bearing on the projection as far as I'm concerned, because none of these teams are particularly hard opponents. When I look at their schedule as a whole, they only face 3 top 10 defenses through the whole 16 games, and only 5 top 15 defenses. And they have the benefit of feasting off 2 of the worst ranked defensive units in the league, being the New York Giants and Cleveland. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's really friendly for them. Let me just flick a few pages. The only comment I wanted to make before I let you know what I think they'll go over the season is that one of the things I've noticed in a lot of my reading is a lot of teams tend to break up their schedules into quarters, and they really look at this first quarter as a bit of a launching pad. They really want to do really well this first quarter, so the first 4 games, they view them as critical. And obviously for the Steelers, these first 4 games are quite meaningful because they're obviously without Le'Veon Bell, which is a critical element in their offense. But when I look across those first 4 games, I notice that they really only face 1 top-rated defensive unit, and that's at week 4. Their current running back, in the absence of Le'Veon Bell, is D'Angelo Williams, and he faces 2 subpar rush defenses in Washington and Philadelphia over that period. So it really gives them a chance to compete over those first 4 games and get themselves settled so that they can then obviously have Le'Veon Bell return to the team and they can be, I guess, at full strength. So based on the fact that they largely face weak competition, they're a relatively stable team and a reasonable defensive unit, I sort of projected them initially for a 12-4 season. I think that's kind of reasonable, but I consider they might have a range of outcomes depending on just sort of random occurrences or significant illness or injuries at particular positions. So I think the range of possibilities are anywhere from 10-6 to 13-3. I think 12-4 sort of sits kind of in the middle. That's how I see it. I'll be happy to hear your thoughts later on that. The only other thing I do that's slightly different to you is I also look at a lot of the fantasy impact. And the way I do it, without going into too much length, is I basically lined up all their schedule, all their teams, and I look at their opponents and what those opponents would normally give away to particular positions in yards per game and total yards. So against the wide receiver 1, a normal wide receiver facing the Steelers' opponents would be expected to probably get about 144 balls and about 1,200 yards. But of course, Antonio Brown is not an average wide receiver, so I could easily see him get a lot of significant play. So obviously, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. AB is a stud, and he's going to get a hell of a lot of points this year in terms of fantasy. The interesting thing is their wide receiver 2 position. It forecasts to me like that whoever that player might be would probably get 107 balls or thereabouts and at 850 yards. So it's a position that, from a fantasy perspective, you might want to get a piece of. As to which player that might be, I really don't know. We were discussing earlier whether it would be Marcus Wheaton or Sammy Coates, but I just thought I'd sort of paint that out there. And obviously the tight end position is currently in a state of flux given the Ladarius Green issues as it pertains to possible ongoing concussion issues. So that was my kind of synopsis of the team. I know it's probably a bit of overkill in terms of information, but that's just, I don't know, that's just kind of how I do my thing. I'm just wondering, do any of you guys have any comments or feedback for me? Or any differing views or opinions? You all do. How about I start with Colby and then go on to David?
Well, actually, I'm pretty much right there with you. A couple of things that I thought were really interesting for this team. I have them at 13-3. I think something that nobody's really talking about, which surprises me, is Marquise Pouncey's coming back, and he's like, when he's healthy, he's one of the best centers in the NFL. Considering how bad Cody Wallace was, who filled in for him last year, and when I say bad, I mean bottom 5 bad. And then the other thing, like, I'm not into Coates or Wheaton, but I think volume is there in today's NFL. So you have to be interested, like, just talking fantasy-wise, you have to be interested. Take your shot on one of those guys because, I mean, what were they going to throw, 500-600 balls this year? So, I mean, there's going to be some being on the other side of AB is going to be good. And I think that 13-3 is totally doable, especially if you get, like, D. Willie stepping in when Lev Bell is out, like, and being what he was last year. But yeah, that's you did a great job, Anthony. I like what you said.
Thanks, man. All right, David, let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm right along there with Colby on that 13-3, and again, great job. The biggest thing that I think that along with your projections when you look at the defenses that they're playing this year, one of the things that I noticed that you didn't mention was most of their first and second string, actually all of their first and second string, minus their special teams, are all second, third, fourth, are all, non-rookies. Only their third and fourth string really have rookies, and they don't have a lot of rookies, really. They've got maybe 2 handfuls to mention that, to make mention of. So again, I think that's going to also attribute to that 13-3, coupled with the fact that they're not really playing tough defenses this year. I can even see them going 14-2. That's going to be about it, though. But with this is one of those teams where, even though they've got Gronkowski there out of Cincinnati, backing Roethlisberger up, I think this is another one of those teams that we've mentioned in previous shows before. That QB goes down, Ben goes down, that's it. I mean, they'll be able to rely on Le'Veon and D'Angelo, but, Le'Veon has been hurt, D'Angelo's been hurt, and one thing about Cody Wallace, Kobe, Cody really is a guard. I mean, he really wasn't meant to play fucking center, man, but they put him there,
Oh, no,
so
I wasn't painting him as a bad player. I was saying that the upgrade is really exponential considering.
Oh yeah, with Pouncey 10-1, I mean, all day long. It's just they really didn't have a choice. I mean, were they going to put fucking Chris Hubbard in there or BJ Finney? I mean, they really didn't have a choice, man. But yeah, this is one of those teams where if a linebacker busts through that fucking line and they break Ben's leg, that's it for that team.
That's fair. I think that's very fair. Tony, any comments?
Sure. I always have something. Yeah, I'm a little bit bullish on it. 13-3. I'm going 11-5. I think you guys are more in love with the fantasy part of their team, of Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Lev Bell, and D'Angelo Williams. I think a lot of teams are really going to focus on Brown a lot this year. And, I mean, he's still going to have an outstanding year. Probably going to catch 120 balls, probably 1,600 yards. I mean, he's going to have a great year, don't get me wrong. But I I don't think their defense is anything to write off about. Trust me, I like Ryan Shazier as much as anyone. He went to Ohio State, but he hasn't been healthy. And a lot of their defense, a lot of them are injury prone. Their secondary is terrible. They're starting all rookies. I know you mentioned that a lot of their rookies aren't playing key roles, but they are. Their whole secondary is rookies. Artie Burns and the other kid they drafted this year are their cornerbacks. They got rookie corners.
Sean Davis. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see it more as 11-5 year, mainly because, like you said, they're playing. Artie Burns was their first-round pick. I know that.
I mean, but
Miami?
he's listed as their fourth-string corner. I mean, they've got Al Haj Shabazz third, Doran Grant second, and Ross Cockrell as their first-string corner.
Who are those guys?
Exactly.
So
William Gay, Donald Washington, Sinquez Golson, Montel Garner. Okay, fair enough.
But that's all I'm saying is their secondary's weak. They don't have great pass rushers. I think, what is it, Jarvis Jones, the guy they drafted out of Georgia 2-3 years ago. He was supposed to be like the next coming of DeMarcus Ware from everything I remember. He hasn't done anything in the pros.
Well, what about Timmons, though?
Timmons is good. Don't get me wrong. He's all right, but
What about James Harrison? Oh.
no, they also got James Harrison. James Harrison's good. But I mean, what? You guys are gonna name 2 or 3 guys and tell me they have a great defense? Goddamn, Dallas is out here with frickin' Sean Lee and.
Oh fuck! Here we go. We knew it was coming. Dallas. Dallas. Nah. I'm just bullshitting.
You can't have one team. Hey, well, they got 2 guys on their defense, so they're fucking 13-3.
I was being facetious about James Harrison. Come on. He's 406 years old.
So, nah, I think a lot of people are just looking at the Steelers and they're in love with Antonio Brown. So,
I mean, he is the fucking number one. I mean, he is the number one wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, fantasy perspective. I mean,
tongue-kissing perspective, whatever.
I mean, 11-5 is still a good year, and I don't know. I mean, they might be a Super Bowl contender. Well, they are a Super Bowl contender. The AFC doesn't have anybody in my mind that is a runaway team in the AFC. The AFC is wide open this year. That's my thoughts.
No, that was good. Thanks, guys. That was quite illuminating for me. Thanks. How about we transition over to the AFC South, and we've got Tony covering his second favorite team, the Texans.
Let's see. Let's see. I'm waiting.
Where are you at, Colby?
I'm waiting on you, homie.
I got him down as 8-8.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. 19th ranked offense, 3rd ranked defense, 18th in passing, 15th in rushing. We all know O'Brien's a good coach. They brought in Osweiler, brought in Miller. They drafted like 5 receivers. I don't know if it was that many, but they drafted several receivers.
6.
And how many?
6.
Oh yeah, I know they drafted a lot. So, they got obviously Nuke Hopkins is a beast out there at receiver. Although I'm a little worried. Everyone has him ranked as like a top 4 or 5 fantasy receiver this year. I think his numbers will come down a little bit with Osweiler back there, even though I think Osweiler is an upgrade to Hoyer, who was in there last year. I just think, if you remember right, Hoyer was the quarterback in Cleveland the year Josh Gordon had an amazing year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know what to make of that exactly, but I think Osweiler's all right. He ain't nothing great. They overpaid him way too much. I really like Lamar Miller this year. I think he's going to be real good. I mean, obviously Foster did real well there for all those years. Their defense is obviously really good, but Watt's coming off back surgery. I don't know how that's going to go down. We had our mentions on Facebook the other day about Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
He hasn't proved anything in the pros yet. And obviously Cushing's a good linebacker if he can actually stay healthy a whole year. I just think they're more of an 8-8 team, and that's they're like the Atlanta Falcons of the AFC. How you like that one?
Play like a terrible quarterback who's no good.
Colby,
Not a
Colby.
top 15 quarterback.
Colby,
No.
you're very close to being muted, mate. You're very close to being muted.
Oh.
Apparently, I'm just wondering, Colby, any of your feedback or value add to Tony's commentary on in relation to the Texans?
Well, yeah, I'm right there with him at 8-8. Although I think we're a little different. I'm a little higher on Nuke Hopkins than he is, and I'm a little lower on Lamar Miller. Something I actually wanted to kind of put out to you guys. Like I've done a lot of, because Lamar Miller is kind of one of those guys. I think as it pertains to fantasy, I think that lots of people are. Some guys are like, I'm going to take him, top 5, or no, he's a 3rd rounder. So I kind of wanted to pull you guys a little, like, just kind of get your guys' insight. What do you think of a guy, if I told you, and you didn't know who he was, but I told you that he has a high yards per carry, but 4 coaches have decided that he's not worth more than 200 carries. He had 200 carries once in his whole career. He's been over 1,000 yards once in his career. Would that be a guy that you'd want to take in the 1st or 2nd round?
Yeah, that's tough.
Not in the 1st or 2nd, that's for sure, unless there's some serious fucking prospecting or, something that has just, totally changed as far as the team dynamic. I mean, really, you have to take into consideration the team that he's playing for and the line, the guys that are going to be protecting him and opening up holes, the coaching staff, what's their style of play. You got to take a few things into consideration, but I just reading those stats, yeah, definitely not a 1st or 2nd rounder in my opinion.
Well, look who's behind him, though. I mean, Alfred Blue sucks.
Yes, my boy Blue.
But couldn't the argument be made that there was really nobody behind him in Miami, and he still didn't get hardly any carries? Like, I'm just very curious, your guys, because I mean, we're all super into this stuff, and I'm just curious if I'm crazy here, because I'm definitely not taking him in the 1st round or the 2nd.
Miami's line fucking sucks. I mean, it sucked last year, and it sucked for the past 4 or 5 years. I mean, they couldn't protect anyway.
I think
True.
I'm not sure how I'd respond to that, Colby, other than to say that I agree with you. The alarm bells are ringing because there have been several coaching administrations. None of them were willing to put him in as the number 1 back and to give him a fair chunk of the offensive snaps, or the runs, I should say. So that in alone is a red flag. But I guess, like, in terms of, I'm not sure whether my thinking is different to yours, but when it comes to running back, it is like a relatively fragile position.
Absolutely.
And it's one that's sort of bereft of really any form of insurance. You could get, as some of us did, draft players like C.J. Anderson or Eddie Lacy, and they were the consensus sort of top, say, 5 picks for running backs, and they do jack shit for you that year. And I guess, is it beyond the realm of possibility to conceive that Lamar Miller will have the same fate? No, I think the range of possibilities are huge. But I suppose when drafting a running back, you sort of have to look at the opportunity that's there for the player, in addition to things like possible game scripts and all that sort of jazz, and exactly what he does in terms of his skills, whether he's a proper 3-down back. And I guess, like Lamar Miller, he's going into a team that looks like he doesn't have any sort of competition. It's not a running back by committee. He looks to have a fair chunk of the responsibility as it pertains to the actual running. So I don't know. I mean, you compare him against other players, and he just sort of, from an opportunity perspective, he tends to stand out. Like, am I often a limb on my own in that regard, or?
No, I'm with you. I like Lamar Miller this year. I think it's all about opportunity. I think O'Brien knows that his offense is only going to go if they hand the ball off. Osweiler's not going to win you games. He's a manager. And,
well, I mean, look, they've got a rookie center in Nick Martin. Dwayne Brown is on the PUP. I mean, those two variables alone tell me that their O-line is not going to be able to do what they need to do to open up holes for Lamar Miller, let alone fucking protect Osweiler.
Yeah,
just throwing that out there.
I don't know. Like, I guess what my point is it's not that I don't think Lamar Miller's talented, and it's not that I hope the guy has a great season, and I think he definitely has that opportunity. I just think for me, if my drafting strategy is generally value-based drafting, and I feel like if you get a guy like that, there's some reason why he's only had 200 carries once in his career. There's a reason for that, and I was just curious to get your guys' thoughts on what you think. Like, for me, like, just speaking fantasy-wise, I say he's probably more of a guy you take at the 2-3 turn, like in the 24-25 range, that kind of pick. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, just thought that was interesting.
No.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Thanks for that, Colby. We've got the Colts up next, and I believe we've got the big man, David, to take us through his Colts.
All right, guys, the Colts. Their defense, they allowed over 400 points. They were fucking 8-8. Let's get excited. Hey, they're fresh off a disappointment of NFL or their 2015 NFL season. They're hoping to turn things around. Andrew Luck will be back to full health following his injury-plagued season. The Colts seem to be on the same page. Jim Irsay chose to bring Chuck Pagano back as the head coach and also stuck with Ryan Grigson as the general manager. The word is that the two are going to have to work better together if they're going to keep their fucking jobs this year. Everything's going to basically – this is another one of those teams. Everything's going to hinder on Luck staying healthy. They do have backup Green Bay transfer Tolson, but don't expect much if fucking Luck runs out. Yeah, they picked up, big man Gore. He's going to be carrying the cowbell again, and he's going to need to get some holes opened up in order for them to see any kind of postseason play, which I'm still speculative about. The good news is they've got T.Y., Moncrief, and former Clemson fullback tight end Dwayne Allen. Luck should be able to connect, providing that O-line can get their schemes right every single down. There's a lot of other, like when I was doing my research or whatever, there's a lot of, I don't know if they're all drinking the same fucking Kool-Aid or whatever, but they've got them going 10-plus games this season. I only see them doing one game better this season, and that's even if Luck stays healthy. Because, look, they've got the Broncos, the Chargers, the Texans, the Chiefs, the Packers, all before their Week 10 bye. I got them going 9-7, guys.
Okay. No worries. Tony, any thoughts or reactions?
Sure. I agree with I was surprised they brought Pagano and Grigson back. Not so much for Pagano. I think he's a good coach, but Grigson, I think him and your boy Balky over there in San Francisco are competing for the shittiest GMs in the league. The dude should have been fired like 10 minutes after the Trent Richardson trade.
Yeah.
But
that was brutal.
I mean, that, and then last year they took Philip Dorsett in the first round when they knew damn well they needed offensive line help. So they finally got smart this year and drafted a center in the first round.
Right, Kelly.
Yeah. I think he has a shoulder issue already here in camp, but he should be fine for the start of the season. I'm I like Andrew Luck a lot. I know they gave him a ton of money, but I think he's as good as any quarterback any young quarterback in the league right now. And Moncrief and Ty and Dorsett, they're all pretty good receivers. I'm worried about Frank Gore. I mean, 33 years old, and they still want him to be the bell cow. And, I mean, they really don't have anybody behind him that's proven. So, you know, I didn't pull up their schedule, so I can't tell you what I think their record's going to be. But I think they'll be right there for the division. The division's between them and Jacksonville, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say they Anyway, yeah, they picked up a center and they also picked up a free safety. They've got a rookie free safety in T.J. Green. They actually picked up a few safeties and corners this season. I totally forgot about that. Sorry about that.
Very good.
Patrick
Colby.
Robinson. Yeah, Patrick Robinson is the ad that I really like.
Yeah.
I don't know, a couple of things, just kind of more like in line with kind of what you guys are saying, although I have them at 7 and 9. I'm not a believer in the Colts. I don't, it's hard to make up for losses. Like they lost Terrell Freeman, Kobe Fleener, Dwight Lowry. The interesting thing, just to kind of tail onto what Tony was saying about Frank Gore, did you know that this is the first year of his entire career that he averaged lower, like last year, lower than 3.7 yards a carry? If that's not a guy who is like 2 steps away from the running back cliff, I don't know what it is. I think it's insane for them to be going into another year with a guy who clearly is not what he was even 2 years ago.
But he hasn't missed a game though. I mean,
he hasn't. But does 976 and 3.7 yards a carry sound like something anybody wants?
I mean,
no, but
Frank
when you
Gore really had an amazing career, man. I mean,
He
if you
did.
remember, coming out of Miami, the dude had a blown ACL, if I remember right. And,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he's a marathon man. He's great. He's just 33 now. So like,
yeah.
you know, that's
I'm with you.
yeah, but that's, you know, I like Frank Gore a lot. Like he has absolutely played all 16 games, but I mean, 3.7 yards a carry, less than 1,000 yards.
Wait a minute. Aren't you a fucking Green Bay fan?
Yeah.
Talking about somebody old with what Brett Favre?
Why don't you check? Why don't you check his
60?
stats? How did they
63
look when he retired?
How
did they look? We'll look at the stats. You tell me how they looked.
Well, he was a QB. I mean, but you're ragging on Gore because he's 33, but your QB was like 64 when he fucking retired.
33 and running back like years is like 706. Okay, so it's a little different.
I got to give you shit, man, just because.
But yeah, no, I'm right there with you guys. Although I am a little like I'm not looking for the Colts to have this great season.
Yeah, I looked at their schedule. I think it's about 9 wins.
Yeah,
that's what I got. I got 9 and 7.
Yeah.
All right, Colby, why don't we stick with you and transition over to an ascending team in the Jags?
I'm not as high on the Jags as everybody else's guess. They were 5-11 last year. I see them getting to 8-8. I could see you could convince me 9-7. On defense, they added Malik Jackson, which I like, and they added Prince Amukamara, who he's a stud. I mean, he's not an upper echelon corner, but he's very solid. Both of those guys earned higher grades than anyone else on the Jacksonville defense last year. On the offensive line, they added Kelvin Beachum, who also had a higher grade than anyone else on the whole offensive line, although the rest of the offensive line is terrible. They did have, in my opinion, one of the best drafts. Jalen Ramsey and Miles Jack will join Dante Fowler, who's returning. I think that's a really good sign. I'm not too keen on their linebackers and safeties. They pretty much underperformed across the board. I like the addition of Ivory. I also think we're going to see Julius Thomas resurge, not like he was in Denver, but I think we're going to see. My biggest thing is it will not Bortles. People are like crazy about this guy. I'm just going to read an interesting little tidbit about him. Bortles led the NFL in TD passes when his team was trailing by at least 7, 10, or 14 and 17 points. In first halves, Bortles had 12 touchdowns and 10 picks, as opposed to the 23-8 ratio in second halves. Those numbers are indicative of a guy who is a garbage time quarterback, a Matt Ryan type quarterback. But I couldn't help it. My biggest thing to say about them is although I'm not predicting them to have this huge season, I think they will be markedly better than they were last year.
Sorry, I must admit it. What did you say in terms of their overall finish for this year? Was it 8-8? Did you say?
Yeah, I put 8-8.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, mate.
No worries.
David, any thoughts?
Yeah, you mentioned Prince Amakamara. I really like Mukamara. Sorry, I really like Jalen Ramsey. I really like them. They're, as Tony's probably going to mention, they've got T.J. Yeldon, Chris Ivory. I really like those two. I like Blake Bortles. I mean, he's decent. I probably see them going 9-7, maybe even 10-6, just because of Julius Thomas and Mercedes Lewis duo. Also, I like Allen Robinson and I like fucking Allen Hurns. Both those guys, from a fantasy perspective, I mean, they have put up some points.
In garbage time.
Well, okay.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, points are points, but
Right?
Anyway, yeah, points are points, man. Yeah, and I like Dante Fowler. I mean, yeah, I see him going a couple more than what you see him, but that's just me. Tony?
Yeah, I got him down at 9-7 too. I think I'm higher on Blake. I like Blake Bortles a little bit better than you too, I guess. Yeah, he may have had some garbage time points and all that stuff, but I mean, it says something to bring your team back all those times too. And it's impressive to have game-winning drives or to bring your team back. And like you said, it's not like they have the greatest O-line in the world. T.J. Yeldon's all right, but it's not like he's a top 10 running back in the league or anything. They brought in Ivory to help out on the goal line, I think. And as Dave mentioned, Hearns and Robinson they're damn good on the outside. They got good slot receivers and Marquise Lee and Green from Florida State. So their offense looks good. Their coach is a defensive-minded guy. They essentially have 3 first-rounders this year. If with Fowler coming back, and then Miles Jack should have been a first-rounder, and Jalen Ramsey, who people thought was the best player in the draft. So, I mean, I think they're a good team. They're definitely on the come-up.
Oh, thanks, Tony. I really like the fact that you skewed positive in relation to the late surge comeback. So that's not really a narrative that you hear. The young-time quarterback thing is often was often sort of assigned to the Blake Bortles, but you don't often hear people sort of skew it the other way and say, yeah, that's great, but it takes a bit of fortitude to actually bring your team back and do something and not sort of fold under the pressure. So yeah, I thought that was great. All right, guys, I've got the great privilege of talking about the Tennessee Titans. And like I did for the Steelers, I kind of looked at the coaches first. And as you guys would know, we've got Mike Mularkey, who's taken over as head coach after a stint as the interim coach last year. And when I looked at his history, the one thing that stands out to me is historically he's actually been a tight ends coach, even though he did sort of stint as an offensive coordinator in the 2008-2011 period. More specifically, he's brought in a guy called Terry Robisky as the offensive coordinator, and this guy happened to work with Mike Mularkey in Atlanta, and sure enough, he was also a tight ends coach in his history. And they've obviously got the guy Dick LeBeau as the defensive coordinator previously at Pittsburgh. But the one thing that really stands out to me is if you have a look at their head coaching position since 2010, they basically gone through four. So they are the antithesis of the Steelers. So if the Steelers are a stable team, the Tennessee Titans are at the complete opposite end. They're in constant churn at the top, which is always a bit of a bad sign. When I looked at their 2016 editions, particularly their draft, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I guess key names are Jack Conklin, who's a tackle, and I guess they've sunk in a lot of draft capital there, and it seems to be that they're basically trying to shore up their offensive line, and they're trying to pair him up with Taylor Lewan, who was their 2014 round one pick at left tackle. They've made all this talk about a smash mouth offense, which I guess explains why they've drafted Derrick Henry at pick 45. And they've obviously invested in guys like Tajay Sharp, who's creating a lot of buzz at the wide receiver position. But when I sort of dig a little further, I wanted to make a few notes. One is that their offense was actually ranked 32nd, and their defense was ranked 23rd. So when you're looking at their schedule and you're trying to project into the future, you sort of need to look at it through a prism of the fact that this team is in a massive rebuild and development, so your expectations have to be kind of low. The one thing that stands out to me is that they face 5 top 10 defenses. The balance of the defensive units that they seem to encounter over this season are middling defenses, which is kind of good because it gives Tennessee the chance to, I guess, test their mettle against tough teams, but also, and when I sort of look, I've come up with a best case scenario of 5-11. Although, to be honest, I think it's quite probable to see them going something like 3-13 or 4-12. It's hard to see whether we win there convincingly. So the range of possibilities is a little broad, but let's face it, they're miles and miles away from contending. The other notable things for the team is their wide receiver position. I think that's, it appears to be wide open and sort of bereft of any sort of skill. Their nominal wide receiver one, I guess, would be DGB, but the news is he's constantly out of shape. He's not particularly enthused about sort of focusing on training. He's currently buried in the depth chart, and I guess you might sort of perceive that it might be just a coach's strategy to try to get the guy fired up. But the balance of their core leaves little to be desired. They got Harry Douglas, as I mentioned, Tajay Sharp, Rashad Matthews, and they recently signed Andre Johnson, who's well and truly past his prime, and that might be more a case of possibly just having some veteran presence in the wide receiver room, someone who trains like a maniac and who actually might be able to teach a lot of the young guys how to be professionals in the league. There are other wide receivers that note, Kendall Wright, Justin Hunter. I mean, it's just not very inspirational. Obviously, the main receiver is Delaney Walker. He's the guy, I guess, from a fantasy perspective, you'd really want to own. He's the safety blanket for the quarterback in Mark Mariota. But if he would go down, they're kind of thin at that position too. They've got Anthony Fasano, and that's really about it. And, of course, the other notable is their running back position, which, again, last year was completely horrible. Their best performer was Antonio Andrews with 520 yards. That's abysmal. and their second best runner was the quarterback. That was Mark Mariota, and all their other running back players they're just bit characters. Dexter McCluster, Bishop Sankey, David Cobb, and of course Terrence West, who's doing some things at the Ravens. They've recently acquired DeMarco Murray, so that should be interesting to see whether he's got anything left in his legs. So we'll see how we go. The other thing I wanted to mention was their O-line was ranked 32nd in the league and got stuffed on 22% of their runs. So almost a quarter of their attempts were stuffed at the line. They allowed the most sacks at the quarterback position, allowing 54. So this is obviously a position that really needs to be honed in and focused on for the team. And I guess just as an analogy, a lot of people tend to talk about teams from a perspective of like a car. Oh, this team is a Ford F-350, and this team's a Maserati because they're so finely tuned. When it comes to the Tennessee Titans, it's a vehicle that's in the garage and still in primer because it's terrible. There's absolutely nothing really that's would indicate they're anywhere near to close to contending. What they do have is some nice pieces. They've got some potential. They've got what they think is a quarterback of the future. They really just need to invest and properly build around him. So what are your thoughts, guys? Anyone got any feedback in relation to the Titans?
Yeah, I honestly, I'm kind of right there with you. As an owner of DeMarco Murray, I hope that he does have some more room in his legs. But honestly, Anthony, I think you're spot on. Really well thought out. I pretty much agreed with everything you said.
Yeah, I don't think you're too far off.
Tony?
I have him down as 4-12. I thought that stat of them being stuffed at the line a quarter of the time is just going to be really bad for Murray. I think Murray, as soon as things start going bad, which they undoubtedly will in Tennessee this year, their first mistake was rehiring Malarkey. And once things started going bad, he's going to shut it down. That's probably the good reason they drafted Henry in the second round. And I think Murray's one and done in Tennessee, just like he was in Philly. I think he might have, he might have a couple games that are real nice, but they did try to help out that O-line, drafting the tackle in the first round. Then they drafted a tackle last year. So, I mean, they're trying to address the needs, but as you said, the receivers are pretty bad. Doyle Green Beckham, he's kind of like Griffin, if RG3, kind of how he just doesn't have it between the ears. If I want to put it away, like you mentioned, Griffin, he just doesn't get it. He has all the tools to succeed, but it's a matter of will, and I don't think he's willing to put in the work. And then Andre Johnson is washed up, and hell, who else? Tajay Sharp. I've heard good things about him. They also got the other kid from Kendall Wright, he's had injury concerns. So they're destined for another top 5 pick this year. What do you say,
Seems
Dave?
that way. Anyone else, guys?
Yeah, so, I mean, they got Rashard Matthews, Andre Johnson, Harry Douglas, Trey McBride, Doyle Green Beckham, Justin Hunter, Kendall Wright, TJ Sharp, Terzili, fucking Ben Robertson. I mean, they've got a fucking battalion of wide receivers. And, they've got Matt Castle that they brought in from Dallas. Tony, I noticed you didn't mention anything about him. I'm assuming, you don't like him. But, they got Marcus Mariota, I mean,
I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
And then when you look at their tight ends, fucking Delaney Walker, Anthony Fasano, Philip Supernog, Jerome Cunningham, rookie Alex Ellis, Craig Stevens. I mean, they've got a battalion of guys that can catch the ball. Yeah, I agree. Harry Douglas is washed up, probably. Andre Johnson is probably washed up. But even with that, that squad of guys that have hands, for them not to be able to win fucking ball games is pathetic. I mean, they got Jack Conklin. Hopefully, between him and Womack and Spain and Lawan, they can, get something done. But I mean, I would be hard pressed to say that they win five ball games this year, maybe 6, unless Mariota steps up and unless the O-line can open up some holes for Murray. I don't think Murray's washed up. I think that he was just so used to Dallas's big guys being able to give him some running room. There's the reason why he did so well. But he wasn't used to that in Philly, and I think a lot of people have mentioned that before or whatever, and I'm just mentioning it again. I mean, everything is pretty much going to hinge on like you guys have said, Murray. Give him the room to run, and he can fucking run. If not, then give him then give Derrick Henry the ball. And if you can't get the ball to 1 or 2 of the 50 fucking wide receivers that you've got, then you've got serious issues, and you really need to take a look at your squad and take a look at your management core and figure shit out. Because I mean, you've got the talent. I mean, look at all the rookies that they've got, that aren't first string, that are listed as second and third and fourth string. I mean, it's really incredible to me that they are still being projected not being able to win more than 5 or 6 games.
Well, I just want to add one thing real quick is their ownership is in flux because their owner died like a year or 2 ago. So they've been, are they going to sell the team or what's going to happen? And then they fired their coach last year, and then they bring in Malarkey, and then they remove the intern tag from him, make him the head coach. When, I mean, he's just not a head coach in this league. I really thought they would have gone after Chip Kelly. It made all the sense in the world, even though I think Chip Kelly's a college coach. Obviously, he coached Mariota, and I think it was a train wreck from the get-go when they brought in Malarkey. So they're probably going to fire him again at the end of the year, and they're going to be back at square one next year. I mean, they're a team that's just in a bad rut.
Don't you find it odd at being a team that has a young, up-and-coming quarterback who I personally think is definitely well within his ability to take that next step, that when it comes to the Browns or the Jags, you end the conversation saying, well, this team's on the come-up. The Titans, they are not on the come-up, and I find that really interesting considering they have what they have at quarterback.
Yeah, it's the surrounding cast. It's garbage around him.
I mean, what does signing Andre Johnson do for a squad like that? Like, oh, hey,
Bishop Sankey.
Yeah, like we really want to have that guy on our team. Like Andre Johnson was amazing when he played football, but signing him makes no sense. And it was like when I saw that, I felt bad for the guy. I was like, I hope this isn't just like he needs money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And plus, you're taking away snaps from them young guys.
Exactly.
I mean, Tajay Sharp probably going to lose touches because they brought in Andre Johnson. And Dorial Green-Beckham, I think they brought in Andre Johnson to try to teach Green-Beckham how to be a pro. And I don't know if it's going to work because the kid was an idiot when he was in college at Missouri. And, I mean, when he came out, he comes to the combine, and the kid's 6'5" and 230, and he can run a 4.3, and everyone's like, holy shit, he's Calvin Johnson Jr. And then he gets on the field, and he's all lackluster and doesn't give a shit because you already gave him his money, and he don't care no more. So, I mean, that's about it. I'll get off the Tennessee Titans.
Colby just nonchalantly called that team the fucking the welfare line of the NFL.
All
That's
right,
messed
guys. Well, I
up.
think that might wrap us up. I do have a few housekeeping notes. Are you guys you gonna stick around for that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for that. Look, the first thing is obviously we've got a draft next week, so I just wanted to reiterate or try and express the fact that it's mandatory. The way I see it is we've given everyone plenty of notice as it pertains to the day and the time, so there should be no excuses for people not attending. And the other thing to mention is, I know it's probably a selfish point, but if people like Paul and I can get up at 5 in the morning to attend a 6 a.m. draft, the least that you guys in the Northern Hemisphere can do is turn up and show a bit of courtesy. That'd be great. I think I'll be super pissed if someone doesn't show up at the draft and I'm up at 6 in the morning. That's just not on. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
Way to stay positive there, Commish. Some positive reinforcement.
Well, I think
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
I think we put that out from the get-go with the emails you put. I mean, we pretty much laid down the ground rules from the get-go. We want this to be a league that's fun and everybody's committed to. So that was the point. You know, we've had this draft.
Put your hat back on. Jesus Christ, man. What'd I say about... Good Lord.
But
Don't be ashamed of yourself.
we wanted... Let me get back to the point real quick. I know this thing's running forever long. But, you know, I agree. I want everybody to be at the draft. I mean, you can take an hour out of your Saturday, and those guys' case, Sunday at 6 in the morning, to get in the draft room, draft your team, and let's roll with it. Obviously, I've already showed you guys on Facebook. There's the trophy for the winner.
Come to Papa.
And so I look forward to the draft, man. It's going to be fun.
Excellent. Thanks, Tony. I've also got two other housekeeping notes, and coincidentally, they're two emails that I've received. So I thought I'd read them out so we can talk a little bit about them. The first one was submitted anonymously. It says, "Dear League of Titans, I want to write to you in relation to a disconcerting number of adverse comments on the Facebook page. I am particularly astounded at the lack of respect and abuse shown to the commissioners of the league. The abuse is unwarranted and absurd. The biggest culprits are David and Colby. I don't want to say any more other than to say that more respect should be shown to both Tony and Anthony, your league mate X."
your league mate, Ryan.
Let me say this. Let me say this. In relation to the respect, you need to obviously respect your family, your religious, whatever God, respect the law, and just in that tier should be respect to your commissioners. So
there
what I'm
wasn't
going to do
fucking
is
anonymous.
I'm going to hold. I cannot confirm or deny who wrote this. What I will say is I have got a little notebook and I'll be jotting down every single slight directed towards both me and Tony, and at the end of the year there'll be some serious repercussions for that person.
Oh.
So Colby, eyes on you, mate. You are dancing on thin ice.
I mean, can we just go ahead and tell you both to go fuck yourselves now and just get it over with?
Hold on. Dave is out of the league.
Agreed.
And as much shit as both of you two asshats have given me to sit there and say that shit, you guys are full of shite.
We will be removed from the league immediately. For the first 8 people who draft ahead of me, if someone drafts Zeke Elliott ahead of me, you will be removed.
Uh-oh, Michael.
Immediately. Yes, that goes for you, Marzelli, Mr. Sacramento, California.
Oh, you guys.
All right,
Too
last
fucking
housekeeping
much.
note. Another email. Here is the email. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. All right, I'll actually read off it. It says, Dear League of Titans, hashtag LOT. I've been following your exploits and have watched the 3 episodes thus far. I'm a little confused. For a show full of guys and attempted machismo, why are the Super Bowl picks so lame? Let's review. The guys have picked either the Cardinals, Panthers, or Seahawks from the NFC. Where's the courage, the bravado? Where's the masculinity in these picks? They are so safe that I bet if I canvass some college girls in my dorm, they would provide the same team names. How can you rectify? Yours, Allison. There's more. P.S. Where is that Australian guy? All the girls in my sorority think he's the best thing since sliced bread. So, what are the comments, guys?
So the first email you fucking wrote, then the second email you get your lovely wife to fucking write. I mean, come on, man. What the? I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah,
We need to treat that with
we went
respect.
round and round on this discussion on the messenger the other day.
Yeah, that's correct. And coincidentally, someone agreed with me. So I'm glad she brought it up. Allison, you can gaze upon my face.
Allison.
And
Mr. Commissioner,
remember to rectify the situation, I'll give you my Super Bowl pick. Yes.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, she's already got your
My
fucking
Super Bowl
information because it's the same as yours, asshole.
Allison, I live at your house, and we sleep together at night.
I mean, nice try, Commish. I'll give you credit for trying.
You are. Come on, guys, let's settle down. All right, so this is. I agree with her. I think that the Super Bowl picks are quite safe. I was hoping some of you guys would have unzipped and pull out your meaty clackers and show us what you've got. But no,
well, when the fucking other teams pull out their fucking meaty clackers, then we'll fucking pick them. But they're not. They're not showing us shit. Once they start showing us something, Anthony, then we might fucking pick them. But
the season hasn't started. What's there to show? The season.
Wow, that's like me saying, oh, well, I'm gonna pick fucking Colby to bench press 500 fucking pounds, knowing full and well that I have no fucking clue that Colby can pitch 550 fucking pounds. The only thing that I can go by is what I see here and now and what I've seen in the past. I mean, you can't. I'm just saying. I mean, my count that is last year. If we were doing this broadcast this time last year, no one would have picked the Carolina Panthers to make the Super Bowl. Oh bullshit! I would have fucking picked them. I would have fucking picked them.
And you pick them every year. You would have been the only one. So this is what I'm saying. We're going safe picks based on last year, and chances are some of those teams won't make it. So why don't we just get a bit risky and actually pull up testosterone and pick a few teams that are different.
I just want to destroy all your credibility.
I'll go first and satisfy Allison.
Don't fucking say Matt Ryan, asshole. Do not say fucking Matt Ryan.
From the AFC, I'm picking the Steelers. From the NFC, I'm picking the Falcons.
Oh, gross.
I'm silent. That was great.
All credibility destroyed.
Did you see Matt Ryan try to hit Julio Jones in the preseason and throw it like 5 yards out of bounds? He looked great. He was 0 for 4.
The defense is terrible. The Atlanta Falcons are destined for 8-8.
All right, Mr. Preseason Colby. Are you gonna stick with your picks? Who did you pick? You picked the Cardinals.
I picked the Cardinals, and I can't lie because I was fresh off of watching All or Nothing, and I was super hyped up about them, and I think they're gonna be good. I can't lie. I mean, they're good at the Falcons, Anthony. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm sticking with the Cardinals, and the thing that Dave doesn't mention when he says he would have picked the Panthers last year is that he's picked them for the last 15 years, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cardinals still in the NFC. If I had to pick a dark horse, which really isn't a dark horse, as much as it pains me to say this, it's probably Green Bay.
Yeah.
I mean, in the NFC at least. And then in the AFC, I have no goddamn idea. Oh, put that garbage away.
What?
The AFC, I want to lean towards the Steelers, but I think that's the trendy pick, and everyone's going to be on that. Part of me wants to go out there on a limb and say the goddamn Raiders for some reason, but I'm not feeling New England this year. I hate New England to begin with, but I think the 4-game suspension of Brady and all the other injuries that they're accumulating right now, that they're just not going to be as good as they have been. And Brady's the one that's always made that offense go, because none of the receivers are elite. Their running game isn't elite. I mean, Brady's he's the engine to that car, and you're taking the engine out, and then by the time he gets going, they're already going to be behind the 8 ball. So I just don't see New England getting there. And if you want to have balls and say somebody, I like Oakland, I guess, in the AFC. I think they got a good defense. Obviously, Derek Carr looks good. Amari Cooper's for real. And they have an underrated offensive line. So that's what I think.
I mean, I gave my ballsy pick, Mr. Commissioner, with the fucking Colts and with the Bengals. I mean, you know, I sacked up on them. It's not like I ran from them or anything. I mean, but I wasn't touting them like I was the Panthers or whatever. But, I mean, you know, I'm touting the Colts. I mean, I really like them. It's just, you know, their QB's gotta you know, stay with the game. I mean, and that's really the whole essence of what we've been talking about, right? These QBs got to fucking stay healthy. If not, then, you know, whether they're suspended or whether they're fucking healthy or whatever, if you don't have the main guy there, I mean, there's really no point in even trying to, you know, go ballsy with a fucking pick. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, create controversy and turmoil and, you know, all that bullshit because you're down there and ain't got really nothing better to fucking do. But, you know, I mean, that's just the way we see it over here, Mike.
Yeah. All right, then. All right, guys, so I'll wrap it up. I've held you up long enough. Are there any closing comments or statements that you guys want to make before I close?
Thank you guys for the wonderful job that you have done. I really love my commissioners. You guys are gods. I love you. Don't forget to visit www.dicktrain.com.
I'm heading there right now, so hopefully I can link up with my homie down south and just get these balls felled.
Anything to say?
Not. I was going to say, my only comment is the draft next week. We already touched on it. You know, everybody show up, do your thing, get it done and over with, and we'll get the season going.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's been fun so far, so I can't wait for the season to begin. Look, I wanted to end on a serious note by actually thanking you guys. As I've said on Facebook and even in email and messenger, I know it takes a lot of time for you guys, for everyone really, to prepare notes and do research and then to obviously allocate time to do these video broadcasts. So I greatly appreciate your time and effort. I wish you know, we lived close by, chat a few beers as a thank you. Unfortunately, I can't do that living in Australia, so it is what it is. I also wanted to again encourage people to do all they can on the mock drafts. Make sure they're prepared, because once the picks are done, they're final. We're not changing. We're not doing it again. And the other, last thing I wanted to do is to thank the 2 people that wrote in. So I want to thank Alison for her kind comments, and I wanted to thank the anonymous emailer who spoke about the respect that should be shown to the commissioners. The comments are greatly valued and appreciated. Thanks very much, guys.
I think it's the same guy that sang that
All right.
Megatron,
So with that said,
right?
I missed that. The Megatron.
I said
There.
that guy that sent the email. That's the same guy that sang that Megatron song too, right?
Did you guys hear that,
exactly.
Scott? That
Yeah, we
guy
fucking
has the
heard it.
voice of an angel.
He's
All right,
back.
guys,
He's
I'm
back.
signing off. Thanks very much, guys. I missed that, Colby. Can you repeat that, mate?
Oh, I was just gonna